Hey everyone, welcome back to another Linux tutorial. Today we are starting from the basic, answering a super important question: what is Linux? In this video, we will cover what Linux really is, how it works under the hood, its history and evolution, why it's so popular, how it's different from Windows and macOS, and most importantly, where it used in real life. So let's get started. So let's start with a simple definition. Linux is an open source operating system, just like a Windows or Mac OS. An operating system or OS is basically the middleman between you and your hardware. It helps you to run the apps, store the files, connect the internet, and print the document. But what makes Linux different is that it's free and open source. That means anyone can view or modify the source code. You don't need to pay any license fees. You can customize the OS however you want. That's why a Linux is a favorite among the developers, IT admins, and even privacy focused users. Let's move to the next slide. History of Linux. In 1991, Linus Torvalds created a Linux as a personal project. He wanted to build something better than Minix operating system. Here is the fun part. He called it a hobby and said it probably won't be a big or professional. Well, surprised that hobby turned into a backbone of the internet. Once he made it open source, developers from around the world started contributing. Over time, Linux evolved from a small project to a global movement. Today, it powers 100% of supercomputers, most of the internet infrastructure, Android, smartphones, cloud services, even smart card and TVs. Why is Linux popular? Let's break it down into 4 major reasons: free and open source, security, customizability, and global adoption. Free and open source, you don't pay for Linux ever. You download it, install it, and use it completely free. And if you are a developer or curious techie, you can even look under the hood and change how the OS behave. Example: imagine a web developer who wants a lightweight system with just the necessary tool like VS Code and Docker. They can strip down Linux to only what they need. Security. Linux is known for its strong security features. Unlike Windows, which is a big target for viruses, Linux design makes it less vulnerable. For example, a company running a customer database on a Linux server is better protected from a common malwares and ransomware attacks. Customizability. With Linux, you control the system, not the other way around. Want a fancy GUI? Go for GNOME or KDE. Want no GUI at all and just a terminal? Totally fine. For example, a graphic designer could set up a Linux system with only the creative apps they use, keeping it fast, clean, and distraction free. Global adoption. Linux is literally everywhere in the tech world. 96.3% of the top web server runs Linux. Android phones powered by the Linux kernel. 90% of cloud infrastructure runs on Linux. And let's not forget, 100% of the world's fastest supercomputer runs Linux. Linux versus Windows versus Mac OS. Alright, now let's talk about how Linux compares to two different most common operating systems out there, Windows and Mac OS. First, let's start with Linux versus Windows. One of the biggest difference is that Linux is completely free and open source. You can download it, install it, and even share it without paying a single rupee or a dollar. On the other hand, Windows is proprietary operating system, which means you need to buy a license to use it legally. It owned by Microsoft and you cannot really customize much under the hood. Also, Linux is highly customizable. You can tweak the desktop environment, choose your window manager, pick which components to install, and so on. Windows is more user friendly for beginners, but it gives you less control. One area where Windows still shines is gaming. Since most popular games and launchers are made for Windows, it has a better native support. That said, Linux gaming has improved a lot recently. thanks to the tool like Steam's Proton. So if you're a gamer, Windows might be a better choice right now, but if you're someone who values flexibility, control and performance, Linux is a fantastic option. Now let's talk about Linux versus macOS. macOS is a beautifully designed, stable operating system, but it's exclusive to the Apple hardware. If you want to use macOS, you have to buy a MacBook, iMac or Mac Mini. Linux, on the other hand, works on almost any hardware, including old laptop and desktop. It's great for giving new life to the older machine. macOS has a great reputation among creatives, designers, video editor, musicians, and that's mainly because of its consistent UI and strong app ecosystem. But remember, Linux is open source and community driven, which means it's way more flexible. You are not locked into any specific hardware and you can build the experience that works best for you. So if you are someone who loves Apple hardware and want plug and play simplicity, Mac OS is a solid choice. But if you are looking for an affordable, secure and customizable system, especially if you are into development or a system administrator, Linux is the better fit. Real world use cases. Alright, let's look at where Linux is used today. And this is where things get exciting. Web server. Most websites are hosted on Linux based server. Why? Because Linux is fast, stable and easy to manage remotely. 96.3% of top server run Linux. Example, if you use AWS or Google Cloud, you are using Linux behind the scene. Next is Android smartphones. Android OS is built on the Linux kernel. So yes, if you are holding an Android phone right now, you are holding a Linux powered device. 71.8% of global smartphone runs Android. Example, every call, text or YouTube video you watch on Android is powered by a Linux. Next is cloud computing. Linux dominates the cloud. Whether it's AWS, Azure or a Google Cloud, Linux runs the server, container and virtual machine. Over 90% of cloud workloads are Linux based. Example, if a company deploys an application in the cloud, chances are it's running on a Linux virtual machines or Kubernetes container. Other places you will find Linux like smart TVs, Tesla and other smart vehicles, routers and IoT devices, supercomputers doing scientific simulations, and even satellites. Let's wrap it up. Linux is not just an alternative OS, it's the backbone of modern digital world. It's free and open source. It's secure, stable and customizable. It powers the internet, mobile phones, the cloud and more. Whether you are a student, a developer, a system admin or just someone curious about the tech, Linux is worth exploring. Thanks for sticking around. If you have learned something new today, do give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next video in our Linux and DevOps series. Got questions or want me to cover a specific Linux topic? Drop a comment below. I will reply to every one of them. Until next time, keep learning and exploring Linux. See you in the next tutorial and thanks for watching.